Hi, my name is Jerry Pearlman. I'm a solicitor and I have stories to tell and experiences to share. I have a series of talks which I call From Yorkshire to Uganda, some talks and tales from an environmental and tribal lawyer. It really is what it says on the box, because I've acted for a variety of people in a remarkable variety of situations, and both the people and the issues involved are intriguing, and the work which I describe is sometimes of national and international interest and importance. I like to start my series of talks with my favourite talk, which I call Some Environmental Legal Nutcases, because you must judge whether some of my clients are or were nutcases, or the sort of people with whom this country would have been less fascinating. Some of my main personal interests have been with the countryside, both as an active rambler and as a campaigning environmentalist. That is how I came into contact with some of the most astonishing people and the issues in which they were involved. It meant research into both law and history going back to the 16th century. The fact that I've mentioned history does not for one moment mean that it is boring old stuff. In fact, as I will convince you, it is interesting, entertaining and informative. One question: what is a privateer? As it also says on the box that this is from Yorkshire to Uganda, I like to tell the story of my involvement with an African king and his tribe and his claim to recover the so-called lost counties in Uganda. Eventually, when his son became the new king, my wife and I attended his coronation. I like to call this talk either Trying to Find the Lost Counties or Come to My Coronation. Once again, I hope that you would find it both interesting and informative. It is an investigation of British involvement in African exploration and how it affects Africa and Africans even today, and it has scenes from my trips. My main legal interest has always been public rights of way. Many of you use the footpath or bridleway network, but you may not know its history. You may not know your rights, and you may not know what are some of the current issues and developments. I have acted for some very interesting people in some strange situations, and it enables me to be able to explain something about the history, law and uses of public rights of way. Can you remember Mr. Van Houtstraten? I was sufficiently fortunate to act for the Ramblers Association for many years, and one of their great campaigns was to obtain what is called the right to roam. I drafted a parliamentary bill for a Member of Parliament, and eventually my draft led to the Countryside and Rights of Way Act, which has given us the right to roam. I tell about the history of access to the countryside and how it eventually became a legal right. Once again, it is interesting and entertaining, but is an illuminating illustration of aspects of British social history. For 18 years, I was a ministerially appointed member of the Yorkshire Dales National Park Authority, as a result of which I learnt much about the history and creation of national parks and their importance to all of us. One of my talks is about the history of national parks, and we'll look at each of our British national parks. It is a particularly scenic presentation. As a former president of my local law society, I've been very concerned about the changes in the legal profession and the work which we do. We're often criticised. Remember the phrase that Shakespeare used. He said, "First let's kill all the lawyers." Most people are suspicious about having dealings with solicitors. My talk is called The Death of the Common Attorney, which explains in an amusing and interesting way how the profession has changed over my lifetime. It includes some details of some odd and slightly gory cases in which I've been involved. My series of talks will leave you both entertained and much better informed about the law, some aspects of the countryside, your rights in the countryside, and will give you a greater understanding and greater pleasure when you are travelling through the country, whether on foot or by car, or as you travel to or around England. I hope you enjoy them.